There are plays that make us jump off the couch, scream like we're in the stadium, and feel in our bones what it truly means to be a Ravens fan. These aren't just moments. They're stories, raw emotion, that rush in your chest only our team can deliver. And if you think you've seen all, just wait until you remember or discover the 7 greatest plays in our history. Some were so unexpected they changed the entire direction of the game. Others, so powerful that even today, the stadium shakes just thinking about them. Fight Kamigo 80 final, because what you're about to see isn't just football. It's the soul of the Ravens on the field. Every second felt with our hearts in our hands. Go Ravens! Have you ever felt like you were witnessing history unfold right in front of your eyes? That's exactly what happened at the start of the second half of Super Bowl 47. The Ravens had just held on to a solid lead against the 49ers, but the game was far from over. And that's when Jacoby Jones did something no one expected. Something that instantly went into the record books and into every Ravens fan's heart. The ball was kicked off, and Jacoby backed up all the way into the end zone. Most people watching probably thought he'd just kneel and take the safe possession. But he didn't. He saw a window, trusted his vision, and made the call. In a split second, he began the longest run a Ravens players ever made in a Super Bowl, a 108-yard journey that completely flipped the script. And it wasn't just the distance that was impressive. It was the poise, the vision, the burst. Jacoby ran with confidence, like he knew no one was going to touch him. The blocks came together like a symphony, and he took off. He literally flew. By the time he crossed the 50-yard line, the fans were already on their feet. When he hit the end zone, it felt like all of Baltimore screamed in unison. That was more than a touchdown. It was a statement. In that moment, the Ravens went up 28-6. It was supposed to be the knockout blow, but then came the blackout in the stadium and the 49ers' furious comeback, turning the game into a nail-biter. Even so, without that return, the second half could have started with San Francisco gaining momentum, and the outcome might have been very different. Jacoby's play changed everything. It brought energy. It set the tone, and it showed that this team was ready to be champions. That play wasn't just one of the greatest in Ravens history. It was one of the greatest in NFL history. The longest kickoff return ever in a Super Bowl. A moment that proved just how game-changing special teams can be. More than that, it embodied the boldness, the courage, and the ice-cold execution that define Baltimore's DNA. If you're a true Ravens fan, you've definitely watched that play more than once. And every time you do, it hits the same chills. Because that play represents everything this team is about. Grit, speed, guts, and the ability to take over a huge game with a single move. Jacoby Jones might not be the biggest name in franchise history, but that day, he was the biggest name on the field. And if you thought that play was massive, just wait until you relive the moment when one interception changed the course of an entire postseason and became the symbol of the most feared defense in the NFL. Every Ravens fan knows that 2000 was a magical year, but what many forget is just how close everything came to falling apart in that postseason. The team was facing the Titans, bitter rivals and the top seed in the AFC. It was the most physical game imaginable, tense from start to finish, decided in the smallest details. And it was in one of those details, or better yet, a moment of genius, that Ray Lewis sealed the fate of that battle. The score was tight. The Ravens' defense was holding on as best it could, but the offense wasn't clicking. It was a bare-knuckle fight, with a team that made fewer mistakes would win. Then came the moment. Steve McNair went for a short pass to Eddie George, the team's most reliable running back. He caught it. And in the very next instant, Ray Lewis struck like lightning. It was a perfect read, a burst of instinct. Ray didn't just force a mistake. He took the ball right out of George's hands. A pick you don't see every day. And he didn't stop there. Ray ran like he had the entire city of Baltimore on his back. He crossed the field and entered the end zone with the same fury he brought to every snap. That touchdown was a war cry from the defense. Not here. That play instantly became a symbol. Ray Lewis was the heart and soul of that team, and in that moment, he showed why. It wasn't just skill, it was vision, power, and an overwhelming will to win. That moment crushed the Titans' morale, and set the Ravens on fire. From that point on, no one could stop that team until they reached the Super Bowl. What makes this play even more special is the context. It wasn't the regular season. It wasn't just another game. It was the playoffs on the road against their biggest rival, with everything on the line. Ray could have just stopped the play, but he chose to change the game. And he did. He was the wall and the trigger. The Ravens' defense didn't just defend, they scored. And that became the very essence of that championship team. If you ask any longtime fan which play defined Ray Lewis's greatness, many will point to this one, because it had everything he stood for: leadership, intelligence, complete commitment. He didn't just play, he inspired. And with that interception, he carried an entire legacy into the end zone. And if Ray Lewis set the tone for that defensive era, there was another moment, years later, when the ball soared through the freezing air in Denver. Time seemed to stop, and everything the Ravens had came down to a single pass. And did you feel how Ray Lewis's leadership transformed the Ravens back then? Tell us if you remember another player who reshaped a team's identity with such intensity, or that interception also burned itself into your memory as a moment that defined the spirit of the team. Let's talk about it in the comments. Every Ravens fan who lived through the 2012 season has one moment burned into memory like it was yesterday. Less than a minute on the clock, snow falling in Denver, and the Ravens down by 7. It was third and long. The stadium was going wild, and everything pointed to the season ending right there. But then Joe Flacco unleashed a bomb. One of those that defies logic, defense, and even gravity. The ball came out perfectly, a high, long, silent spiral. It was either a throw of pure desperation or pure confidence. Maybe both. On the other end, Jacoby Jones was sprinting. He knew exactly what he had to do. The Broncos secondary backed off, but they misjudged the hang time. Big mistake. Raheem Moore mistimed his jump, and before he knew it, Jacoby was behind him. The ball dropped straight into Jones' hands. And it wasn't just a catch. It was a frozen moment in time. He secured it, crossed into the end zone, and exploded to tie the game. It was unreal. 70 yards. In the cold, in the altitude, in the Broncos' house. A throw that became a miracle. A throw that saved the season. A throw that became one of the greatest plays in NFL history. The Broncos were already preparing to kneel the clock out. Some fans had even started leaving the stadium. But Flacco and Jacoby Jones changed everything with a single play. They turned a farewell into a resurrection. That touchdown forced overtime and opened the path for one of the most improbable Super Bowl runs ever. That was the moment Joe Cool was born. That was when the locker room truly believed that nothing was impossible. What's most incredible is that the play wasn't even designed to be a miracle. It was just a desperate attempt to gain yards. But Flacco's arm was different. The connection with Jacoby was real. And the composure they both showed in such a critical moment revealed a level of nerve that few teams possess. It was calm in the middle of chaos. And that's what allowed the Ravens to survive that game. The mile-high miracle isn't just about distance or scoring. It's about hope. It's about never giving up. Every fan who's ever felt defeated in the final minute knows how rare moments like that are, and when they happen, they change everything. That play didn't just win the game. It defined the character of that team and cemented Flacco's place in franchise history. And if that pass saved the season, imagine what it means when a single kick breaks a record that stood for over 50 years and wins a game at the final second, with the kind of composure only a legendary kicker could deliver. Some moments feel like they were pulled straight out of a movie script. And when the clock was ticking down to the final seconds against the Lions in 2021, it looked like the Ravens were going to lose. We were on our own 48-yard line. The play had stopped with just 3 seconds on the clock. It was impossible. Or almost. Because when Justin Tucker stepped onto the field, every Ravens fan knew if anyone could make that happen, it was him. The stadium was tense. The Lions were already celebrating. And then Tucker lined up. Total silence. The ball was snapped, the kick was up, and the world held its breath. The ball flew straight and powerful, like an arrow shot with surgical precision. It hit the crossbar, bounced, and went in. The explosion was immediate. Justin Tucker had just made the longest field goal in NFL history, 66 yards. The play was so unbelievable that even Lions fans couldn't believe it. It was a kick that ignored fatigue, pressure, time, and distance. It was the kind of attempt you try on Madden, but never in real life. But Tucker isn't just any kicker. He's the greatest of all time. And in that moment, he didn't just confirm it. He carved it in stone. The most incredible part was his composure. While everyone else celebrated, Tucker simply took 2 steps back and raised his arm, as if to say, "Mission accomplished." That's what sets him apart. He's not after attention. He's after perfection. And that kick was exactly that. Perfect, at the right time, with the right distance, in the toughest moment. The Ravens' trust in Tucker is absolute. He's not just a kicker. He's a strategic weapon. In tight games, he's a difference maker. And that afternoon in Detroit, he showed why he's worth every penny, why his name already has a reserved spot in the Hall of Fame ring. It was the kind of play you tell your kids and your grandkids about. Every team has idols, but few have a player so decisive in such an underrated position. Tucker proved that a kicker can be a hero, can decide games, can make history, and can be the one responsible for one of the most unbelievable moments we've ever seen in purple and black. And if Tucker used precision to win, there's another name who made history with pure strength and explosion, in a play that not only changed the course of the game, but made a historic rival feel the weight of facing the Baltimore defense. All right, we're heading into topic 5. But before we continue, I notice you still haven't liked this video. That's really important so YouTube keeps showing you my content, and I can keep bringing you the best coverage of the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and like this video. It's free, all right? Let's keep going. Some moments in the NFL don't need words. A sound, an impact, a roar from the crowd says it all. And when Bart Scott came flying at Ben Roethlisberger in 2006, no one on the field or in the stands had any doubt. This was a declaration of war. It wasn't just a hit. It was an embodiment of the Ravens-Steelers rivalry in its rawest, most violent form. The play happened on a day when the Ravens' defense was on fire. The game was already under control, but for Bart Scott, there's no such thing as game over when the opponent wears black and gold. He read the play, exploded forward, and collided with Big Ben with such force that the sound echoed through the entire stadium. The Steelers' quarterback hit the ground like he'd been run over by a truck. The image of Ben trying to get up, dazed, while Bart Scott roared and raised his arms in celebration, became one of the most iconic moments of the decade. It was more than just a sack. It was the essence of that defense. Intensity, brutality, and a clear message to any quarterback daring to enter Baltimore. The message was simple. Here, you're going to feel it. The impact was so brutal, it made newspaper covers. Analysts called it one of the most violent hits of the modern era. And the most impressive part, it was 100% legal. No penalty, no excess, just football played the old-fashioned way. With grit, with strength, with honor. Bart Scott wasn't just muscle, he was pure instinct. And on that play, he lived up to the reputation that when the Ravens face the Steelers, nothing is more personal. This kind of play defines identity. It shows the world that Baltimore doesn't back down, that the Ravens' defense is made of legends who play with soul. Bart Scott was never the most famous name on the team, but in that moment, he showed why every true fan knows exactly who he is. He became a symbol, a living memory of our history against our biggest rival. And what's curious is that even after all these years, this play is still shared, talked about, and rewatched in videos and conversations. Because that's what great moments do. They don't age. They stay alive in the minds of the fans, as a reminder of who we are and what we stand for. Every time we see that hit, we feel the same pride. That's our team. And if Bart Scott represented the fury of the defense, there's another moment where calm, calculation, and intelligence took center stage, when Ed Reed made one of the most brilliant and calculated interceptions in NFL history. Some plays aren't just about talent. They're pure genius. And with Ed Reed, you never really knew what to expect, but you could be sure of one thing. It was going to be special. In 2004, against the Eagles, he showed exactly why he's one of the smartest players to ever step on a football field. The play started like any other, But what he did after the interception still leaves even professional analysts speechless. Donovan McNabb threw a ball over the middle, thinking he had fooled the defense. But Ed Reed had already read the entire play. He jumped the route, leapt up, and caught the ball like a wide receiver. But that was just the beginning. Reed didn't just intercept it. He returned it for a touchdown with field vision and body control that looked like it had been choreographed. The interception itself would already have been a highlight, but the return is what turned the play into legend. He ran for 106 yards. That's right. He started practically in the Ravens' own end zone and crossed the entire field. He dodged blocks, slipped through tackles, made cuts worthy of running back, and accelerated like it was the first quarter, not the end of the game. During the return, you could see the frustration on the faces of the Eagles players. They knew they were up against someone different. Reed seemed to anticipate every move. He saw the field with a clarity few defenders in history ever had, and as the crowd erupted, he crossed the goal line with his arm raised, fully aware he had just made history again. That play wasn't just a score. It was a statement. Without saying a single word, Reed was declaring, "I run this field." It wasn't just about physical talent. It was about football IQ, studying the opponent, understanding the moment, and executing with absolute precision. No one read the game like he did, and that return became a symbol of it. Ed Reed redefined what it means to be a safety. He showed that the position can be just as decisive as quarterback, that it can change games, that it can terrorize offenses simply by existing. That interception against the Eagles was yet another example of how he was always a step ahead, like playing chess against someone who already knows every possible move. And if Reed mastered anticipation, what about a run no one could predict? A return so unexpected, so powerful, that it sparked a Super Bowl and made the Ravens special teams the unlikely heroes of one of the most important nights in our history. And if you made it this far, drop Ed Reed, Eternal Ravens Legend, in the comments. That way I'll know you recognize the brilliance of one of the NFL's greatest minds. Let's keep going. Some moments are so big, you can hardly believe you're watching them live. And when Jacoby Jones lined up to receive the kickoff at the start of the third quarter of Super Bowl 47, no one could have predicted what was about to happen. The game against the 49ers was going well, but far from over. A decisive strike was needed, and it came in the form of raw speed. The ball was kicked. Jones caught it near the goal line. He could have taken a knee and guaranteed safe possession, but he didn't. He ran, and what followed was a historic return. He broke the first tackle with ease, slipped through the middle, and found a lane that looked like it had been carved just for him. Within seconds, he was in 49ers territory. After that, no one caught him. He ran for 108 yards. That's right, one of the longest returns in Super Bowl history. And the most impactful part, it came right after halftime, just as the opponent was trying to regroup. It felt like a punch in the mouth to anyone who thought the game was still up for grabs. That return touchdown was more than just a score. It was a jolt of adrenaline, a statement. Baltimore is taking this. The celebration matched the moment. Jones slid into the end zone like he was at home, and because that was the stage where he transformed. Jacoby wasn't the MVP of that Super Bowl, but without that return, the momentum could have shifted. He kept the fire burning during the most fragile moment, and helped build the lead that would secure the Ravens' second championship. The play became even more legendary because of what followed. Minutes later, the stadium lights went out. Literally, the blackout delayed the game for over 30 minutes. And many say that if that return hadn't happened before, the Ravens' rhythm might have been lost. But it wasn't. Jones made sure the team came back strong, confident, and ahead. Jacoby Jones wasn't the most technically sound or the most consistent player. But in that Super Bowl, he was the most explosive, the most clutch, and that's what separates great players from heroes. He had the right moment, the right courage and flawless execution, and because of that, his name is etched in franchise history, one of the most unforgettable plays of all time. With everything we've covered, one thing is clear. Jacoby Jones' kickoff return in the Super Bowl wasn't just a beautiful play. It was a turning point. He's an essential part of this team's history, a true underdog hero who was far more than just a return man. His importance to the Ravens is undeniable, and the impact of that run will be remembered forever. The real question is, will we ever witness another moment as epic as that in a Ravens Super Bowl? If you also believe Jacoby Jones pulled off one of the greatest plays in NFL history, share your thoughts in the comments and show just how crucial he was to bringing home that title. We can't let a moment this iconic be forgotten by the new generation of fans. With everything we've revisited, one thing is clear. These 7 plays weren't just incredible moments. They were defining chapters in the making of the Ravens' identity. Each one reflects the courage, intelligence, and strength of a team that never backs down. From improbable returns to historic interceptions, these moments have shaped who we are and shown the world what Baltimore is capable of. The real question is, what will be the next legendary play to make its way onto this list? If these memories moved you and you feel proud of every second spent with the Ravens, drop a comment below telling us which of these plays is your favorite, or if there's another one you think deserved a spot. Let's keep the memory of these moments alive and show just how much they mean to our fan base. Until next time, Ravens.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself. See you there, and until the next video, go Flock.